hit record. All right, so most of you know me. My name is Carrie Morse, and I'm a consultant working with Unicorn Children's Foundation and therefore the Special Needs Advisory Coalition to bring all of you all together and spread the word on important information and collaborate together on projects and information sharing. And I will go down the list for introductions. Hi, Barb Flood. Barbara? You may be speaking. I hear kind of like a mouse in the background. I'm not sure if your mic is working. I'll come back to you. You can go ahead and put an introduction in the chat in the meantime. Destiny Rawls. Hey, Destiny. Destiny, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you could come off mute. All right, we'll continue on. Erica?
Hey, Erica Son. I'm an attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County and the Education Advocacy Project.
Thanks, Erica. Jean Petit. Hey, Jean. You can unmute if you want to introduce. There you go.
Yes, my name is Jean Petit. I'm a parent training coordinator with Family Network on Disabilities. I work in the Penn region. We are a parent and training information center in the state of Florida. Okay, we cover a bit of the central counties all the way down to Monroe. What we do is provide parents with support, information, and resources and help them navigate the education system for special needs. I'm also a Creole-speaking parent training coordinator, and I'm here for all parents and especially for those Creole-speaking parents. Thank you. Oh, this month.
Yes.
This Thursday, we're going to have a chat in English and Creole with one of our parents that is ASD. And she ended up writing a book for about ASD, about her journey. It's a children's book. And so we're going to be chatting with them just to get their point of view. And we continue with our workshops throughout the summer. Of course, you know, our FND Penn page on Facebook is quite active. We post resources, anything happening in the summer, and whatever our other collaborators, agencies, partners share with us, we post there for families and professionals.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you so much for sharing. Juana Venegas. Hey, Juana.
Hi guys, my name is Juana Venegas. I'm with Manu for Inclusion Foundation, and we are focused on parents to deal with the diagnosis. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Harris. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Harris, Special Needs Advocate for 211. Not a whole lot going on in special needs world, but 211 is gearing up for hurricane season, and I am on the committee for that, for getting information out for special needs shelters, for anything related to hurricane. And that covers it for me. Oh, I do a weekly email out to parents and agencies like Jean and SNAC of what's going on in the community. So I try and get everybody's information in as well. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Keith Workney. Hey, Keith.
Hey, good afternoon. Nice to see everybody. I'm Keith Berkey. I'm the Executive Director of Employ You. We're a nonprofit employment service. We partner with Vocational Rehabilitation, APD, and also American Dream Employment Network. Help adults and youth with their vocational goals. We got a lot going on with especially our youth program right now. We have the construction brick program that we've been doing on our 5th year now, going on in Brevard, Volusia, and Duval. And then we have a manufacturing project out in Brevard County that's been going on with lots of students out there getting all kinds of great experiences. This year, we actually are running our pilot hospitality program here in Central Florida. We're really excited to say it's actually in our second day right now of a 1-week camp. We have 30 students all at UCF Rosen School of Hospitality, where they're getting all kinds of information about all the hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels, and then they're getting a site tour of different facilities, including the convention center, Topgolf, 3 different hotels this week. So really, really cool. We're excited about that. And then the thing that's been consuming my life is we're actually starting our CARF survey tomorrow. So we'll be going through a CARF survey for the next few days. So it's been, we'll be happy when it's done. But it's
Best
been,
of luck. Yes.
thank you so much.
Kimberly Harris. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Harris. I work for vocational rehabilitation. I'm the intake specialist in the Unit 21D, which used to be Lake Worth office, but we're in West Palm Beach now. We help clients who have impairments and disabilities to get jobs and maintain their jobs. We start at age 14, and I am a parent of a child with an impairment.
Thanks for being here, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
Mary Ellen Quinlani.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Ellen Quinlani with FAU Card. We have lots of things going on this summer. Check our calendar, it changes every day. We're busy planning the events for the fall and the spring. Got a couple new focuses on AAC and AT for students with autism. Again, we'll be doing our training regarding females with autism, and then our ASD mental health task force, and then focusing on our transition conference and a few other events as well. So happy summer.
Thank you. Millery.
Good afternoon. My name is Milo Isena. I'm the community liaison for the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. Like I was telling Carrie, we were open yesterday. We did not have yesterday off. So we are here. We are open Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Please send your individuals our way. We are not taking up for the summer, so we'll be around.
Thanks, Millery. Nikki.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I'm kind of talking to you that way. My name is Nikki Karaxis. I am with Behavioral Family Solutions. Our therapists provide ADA therapy for children and adolescents aging out at 21. We do go into the community for all the services. We're in the Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami school systems, as well as daycares and aftercares and into homes and extracurricular activities as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki. Ryan Lundy. Hey, Ryan.
This is my first meeting. I'm glad to be here. So I have a lot of hats. I have a disability. I have a nonverbal learning disability. A self-advocate, trying to promote myself and do more speaking. And I've been on some podcasts and written some articles. Also, I work as a teaching assistant at an autism school, and I also teach tennis once a month for kids and adults with special needs. And I have a side business where I do companionship, recreation skills, whatever families need. So I have some clients with that. So I have a lot of heads, but I love this field and I'm glad to be here.
We're so glad you joined us, Ryan. Hopefully you'll be able to come every month. It's a great group.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Sharon?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Alexander, CEO of the Unicorn Children's Foundation. We were off yesterday, but we've got really exciting news. We've recently been granted $100,000 from Impact 100 to expand our family navigation program. And then the state of Florida included us in the budget for $200,000 to expand our industry standard certification career training program. So be on the lookout for more news on that as it evolves.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Cheyenne Witherspoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shayeen Weatherspoon. I am the Director of Community Impact here at United Way of Palm Beach County, and I manage all of our special needs initiatives.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane. And Zippy Rosen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zippy Rosen. I'm the special needs community outreach worker at Ruth and Norman Rales Jewish Family Services. Our big thing is we just opened up a new family and therapy center, like a one-stop shop, and we are beginning social skills groups, sensory groups, and pre-writing skills groups over the next week or so in the summer. So if you're interested and want more information, let me know. I'll put my information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe Kimberly Jackson, did you join after we started introductions? Would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, not a problem. All right, and Jennifer wants your flyers, Zippy. All right, so I'm going to turn it over. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Ilana Solomon, and she is here to discuss her perspective of individuals with hidden disabilities, misunderstood and underserved. As I said earlier, before some of you logged on, this is a wonderful topic that I think we need to discuss more often. And I'm so glad that Ilana is here to lead the way. Thank you, Ilana.
Okay, thank you so much, Carrie. I really feel just amazing being in this group of individuals here. As everybody was introducing themselves, you know, there are some people that I certainly know of from the community and people who I look forward to getting to know. So thank you so much for being here. And I will tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit more as we go along. I'll explain what my role is. I'm not just hosting this. I'm actually going to be one of the panelists for this as well. So okay, so purpose of this meeting is really just to bring awareness to a population with hidden disabilities who often choose to keep their diagnoses and struggles hidden for many different reasons, and that's something that we can discuss at some point. To increase education in the community about a population that is underserved, to determine where the gaps in services are and how to fill these gaps, to develop a support network for this population within their individual communities. And this is a really long kind of run-on sentence, so I'm just going to try to break it up as best I can. To create and launch an advocacy group made up of a diverse group of individuals who are successful in their careers, are eager to bring about change for those who are currently struggling, and assist in paving the ways for others with hidden disabilities. So what I did was I was thinking about if I were to be watching a presentation, being who I am and how my mind operates, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a while. For me, it is very important to know what I can expect. And so, in this meeting, I gave a sequence of topics, and I thought maybe there would be some other people who might be on here who can benefit from this as well. So I'm going to have panelists discussing disabilities and superpower, living with auditory processing disorder. I made sure I didn't leave it as APD because then we'll all think it's Agency for Persons with Disabilities. And then I have a simulation, an APD simulation, video on dyslexia, and I have Whoopi Goldberg discussing dyslexia, ADHD, and then I have panelists discussing what services have worked well and where the gaps are. A video of Richard Branson discussing his dyslexia, comorbidities. It's one of the panelists discussing that. To disclose or not to disclose your disability, and then how to get involved with a group that I am looking to form, an advocacy group that I'm looking to form. So.
Okay, so here's the interesting part with the panelists. So here we are talking about hidden disabilities, and it was really difficult finding people with hidden disabilities to be on the panel. I ended up reaching out to friends of mine to be on this panel, but everybody was working during the day, so they couldn't attend. So two of my friends agreed to film videos and allowed me to put that, insert that into the PowerPoint. So I am one of the panelists, and I'm going to start off with myself. And if you can see on this slide, it's a pretty busy looking slide. And I can tell you that this is typically what I feel in the inside of my head. So I start off with the images because I am left-handed. I am a dominant left-hander. For fine motor skills, I'm a lefty. Gross motor skills, mainly righty. So I am right-brained majority of the time. And so my hidden disability, I was diagnosed at age 27 as LDNOS. So learning disorder, not otherwise specified. It no longer exists in the DSM, which creates all kinds of issues because it's kind of like, where do I fit in? But at this stage in my life, I'm pretty well versed in what my strengths and deficits are. And so I have learned to become a pretty strong advocate for myself. So I have issues with executive functioning, reading comprehension, a number of different things. And that could be for, a whole other meeting, just specifically on those areas where I struggle. So I said here on my slide, if I were a child growing up in this decade, as opposed to growing up in the 70s or 80s, I most likely would have been diagnosed with a combination of the following disabilities: selective mutism, ASD, ADD, and SLD. So, I'm pretty well aware at this stage in the game. So my career, I'm currently a vocational coordinator in Palm Beach County for a nonprofit, Ken's Crew, and I serve young adults with neurodevelopmental disabilities. I've been in the field for 24 years. I've always worked post-secondary in academic and a vocational setting. And what are my superpowers? I would say empathy. I'm an empath through and through. I'm extremely insightful, visual thinker, an artist, and I have strong pattern recognition abilities, visual and behavioral. Everything is a pattern to me, everywhere I look. So that is me. Next, I have my friends. So the people who are on the panel are friends that I went to college with. I had started off at Hofstra University on Long Island. When I was accepted into college, I was accepted into a program called Division of Special Studies, which I don't think exists anymore because this was 1992, but it was for underachieving high school students. Now, my friends who were on here, they were part of a program. We were in the same school building where we took the same classes, but they were part of a program where they received services. It's called PALS, Program for Academic Learning Skills. And there was a set fee that they had to pay in addition to their regular college fee. And then they would get a person working with them one-to-one and all kinds of things like that. And so this is how I met my friends, and I'm still friends with them to this day. So this is Julie, and I'm going to play Julie's video talking about her disability.
To introduce myself, my name is Julie. I am 49 years old and I am currently single. The reason why I include that in introducing myself is because my ex-husband thought that sometimes my learning disability got in the way of our discussions and conversations. I was diagnosed with a learning disability officially when I was in 9th grade. I stayed back in 1st grade and was put into smaller math and reading groups. And from 3rd grade on, I was pulled out with a special teacher to do math. It was often me alone or in a small group of 3. In 6th grade, I was taken out of the classroom while At the same time, gifted and talented children were taken out, and we went to the what I call the dungeon, just downstairs, and the gifted and talented group went upstairs. And I knew from a very early age that I could not do math. I was just not a math person, and I knew that I was special. I knew that I needed a lot of help, and at that time, even in first grade, our earliest memories was like I knew that I needed help, and the teachers would take me out of lunch early, and they would give me cookies and ice cream, and although it was a special time for us, I knew that I had very low self-esteem. I already could feel it at such a young age, and my parents were really the ones that fought for me and just made me feel okay about, you know, the way that I was learning, and just try to get me all the help that I needed and to support me.
And so now we're going to go on, and she is going to talk about her superpowers.
From this girl who stayed back in first grade, always had tutors, extra help, modified classes, resource room, an IEP, to now a college bachelor's degree, master's degree, working for the Department of Education in New York City, kindergarten teacher, and now pre-K teacher. What her superpower is hope. Always believe and never give up.
So it's really tough for me to watch this video because we grew up together. I'm so proud of her. All right, so here is another friend of mine who, so we went to the same college, but we weren't there during the same time. She started like a year or two after me, and I had already gone to another college and then had returned and so on. But we ended up working together. We were teaching together at New York Institute of Technology, the Vocational Independence Program. And what's really cool, I guess I'll just bring it up kind of quickly, but Sheila is going to talk about her dyslexia, and I have reading comprehension issues, and there was a teacher who had asked me to team teach with her at the program, and it was a topic I knew nothing about, and I had to buy a book and read it, and I wasn't able to comprehend. So Sheila and I made a breakfast date, and I read the book I read excerpts from the book, and then she told me what I was reading. And so we worked together as a team. So Sheila is another pretty amazing person. So here's Sheila, and she's very funny.
Video number one.
Take one.
Okay. My name is Sheila Roach. My disability is dyslexia. I did another
Video one. Take two.
My name is Sheila Roach, and my disability is dyslexia. And later in life, I was diagnosed with ADD, particularly when I chose to stay home with my children and became a housewife, I guess that's what the term is, stay-at-home mom. My profession prior to that was working at the National Center for Disability Services. I was a benefit counselor there. Prior to that, I also worked in retail and the VIP program. I always worked with developmentally delayed individuals, autism on the spectrum. And then since then, I have taken a much more casual career move, which I really like. And I'm a nanny, and I get to hang out with little kids, and I enjoy it. So my superpower would probably be the fact that I'm able to read people's personalities, what they're thinking passively, microfacial emotions, how people communicate sometimes, but they don't even know that they're communicating, and they don't even know they have those emotions or feelings with inside themselves. I'm very good at picking up on the subtleties of that.
Okay. So what I decided to do, and I apologize for those that don't like watching videos, but sometimes I feel like, well, for me especially, it's YouTube has been a game changer for me in education, because I'm able to see everything. Everything started to make more sense to me when I had that modality available to me. So it's not that I'm not being mindful of other people. I hope nobody thinks that, but I just think that, you know, there's some great material out there, and I thought it was important to talk about some of those, like what I consider like good old fashioned learning disabilities that I don't hear anybody talking about anymore. And so this one is on auditory processing disorder, and I think it's fantastic. So.
I have APD, an auditory processing disorder. When I was a kid, I had frequent ear infections, which led to minor hearing loss, but I can hear fine now. Now it's thought that my frequent ear infections and hearing loss hindered my ability to learn to process spoken word accurately. So physically, I can hear you, I just can't understand what you're saying. You know, experiences vary from person to person, but I've tried my best to mimic what APD is like for me. So let's say I'm at a crowded Christmas party. The whole extended family is there, and enough people are jammed into the house that I can't even make it outside to find my siblings and watch them lose at foosball. I retreat to a corner in hopes of spotting my mom, as I only feel the beat of the holiday music. Suddenly, I'm accosted by a second cousin that I only remember because she offered me a beer at last year's Christmas party, which I adamantly declined. So let's say she asked me, "So do you have any plans for New Year's Eve?" But with the holiday jingles that just seem to be getting louder and louder, the clatter of plastic utensils devouring the 7 fishes, and the sporadic and distant cheer of my siblings and cousins that I so desperately want to locate, the words jumble together, so I hear something more like this. "Alors, have any plans for ce vif?" So here's the fun part. Trying to decipher this encoded message in a time that is socially acceptable to stop and think about an answer. Let's say around 10 seconds. First is context clues. Is she offering me a beer again? I didn't hear anything that resembled beer or drink, but that's always an option. It's in a dark room, so I can't really rely on reading her lips like I usually do. Secondly, I have to think, what did I hear? Well, I didn't hear any real words per se, but I did hear something that sounded suspiciously like Stephanie, and another thing that sounded just like Steve. Now, these happen to be the names of my mom and my brother. Could be a coincidence, but I'm running out of time, so I bite the bullet.
Yeah, I was just looking for them, actually.
And you'll always add the laugh at the end for good measure. She stares at me. I stare back.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I think I messed up. I cringe as I hear that one. The same year I got diagnosed with APD, I attended a Sweet 16 party. A girl I knew from grade school came up to me on the dance floor and started talking a mile a minute. So I smiled and nodded. That night when I went home, I told my mom that she wasn't speaking English. It was something else entirely. I'm traditionally dyslexic as well, but that's a topic for a whole other video. And the point I'm trying to make is that the best analogy I've ever heard for APD is that it's like dyslexia for your ears. My eyes can see just fine with contacts in, the same way my ears can hear just fine. My brain just can't take in the information and put it out as something that makes sense. I have to do the work for it. We with APD have to work twice as hard just to get through the day. It can be exhausting, definitely. There's no cure, but there can be coping methods if you catch it early enough. So here's the deal. Be patient with us. Sometimes we may not be able to understand what you're saying, but we'll sit in the corner at a party with you, and we'll listen, and we'll decipher, and we'll say the wrong things all night, gladly, if you just give us a chance. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them in the comments below.
So this was a really brilliant, it was so brilliantly done. And I love videos when I'm trying to learn myself and educate other people when there are simulations. I think it's really important for perspective taking. So I have an audio simulation that I found for auditory processing disorder. I'm going to try to speed it up in the beginning because it's kind of slow moving. It says headphones required, so you really get a good feel for what it's like if you put the headphones on, but it's still, I mean, for me, it works no matter what, because I have a hard time deciphering things. And then it has some questions at the end. So, okay, here we go. So I'm just going to move it up so we don't spend so much time on. Sorry, it's slow moving.
There was a boy named Jack and a girl named Joe. They were both brother and sister. They were both instructed by their parents to get some milk at the market since they ran out this morning from eating cereal. Jill put on her blue coat as Jack got his hat. Jack was all ready to go, but his mom said she had 3 pairs of shoes to wear. Eventually she decided, and off they began their adventure to the market. Along the way, the dog street and immediately started. Knowing well that they needed to be home soon before it got too dark out, he left alone. Jack called her and says, "Wow, let's look." Jill comments, "Yeah, I could just grab." The cloud grabbed one and eat it. They finally made it to their time for supper, and at the dinner, parents about their small adventure to the market.
Okay, so now there are going to be 5 questions. So I don't know if some people want to take kind of stabs at it, and but I'm not looking through the chat, but was anybody able to decipher any of this? I mean, more power to you if you can. You've got some superpowers.
Jennifer said Jask, milk, and blue.
Yeah, I don't know what the answers are because I couldn't decipher any of it. So was it difficult for anybody?
I didn't want to listen.
Oh, yes.
So I was just coping by turning it off.
Right. Well, that's, you know, and that's a really good example because that is what happens with those of us who have sensory issues and, you know, things like that, auditory processing disorder, whatever. I just, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, so I'm just speaking as a person who experiences something like this. But, you know, so first of all, we have to work really, really hard to try to focus and decipher what is being said. And then also sometimes it is just so overwhelming that you kind of shut out, you know, and then when you see people like looking off or tending to something else, you know, that's often when these things are happening. So. Okay, so next one is discussing dyslexia, and I have many friends with dyslexia, and it affects them in many different ways and through many different aspects of their lives. My guess is that probably everybody on this meeting knows somebody with dyslexia, whether you realize it or not. Often people, I guess it depends on what generation you're from, but a lot of people have a lot of shame in disclosing this. But I thought this video was really fantastic. Okay, so, what I like about this too is that it goes on for a while. And again, this is like, the simulation piece. Think about how you're feeling, as beautiful as the music is. Think about how you're feeling as you're watching this, and this is only a few minutes of your life. Can you imagine having to wake up every day and having this be your life? Would you be so eager, to be pursuing academics? Would you be so eager to apply for that amazing job? Would you be so eager to have conversations? These are the things, think about it in those moments of what you're feeling and then amplify it. And this is Whoopi Goldberg talking about her dyslexia. And what I like about the reason why I wanted to add her is because I'm trying to bring awareness to an older generation, where we have services now, from basically like birth until, graduation of high school. And then people are starting to recognize that age bracket, and then suddenly everything falls off. And so that's where, showing you a little bit about what people from different generations, older generations, have been through, and how that impacts us in our approach to life at this stage.
When I was a kid, there was no such, they didn't call it dyslexia. They called it, slow, or you were retarded, or whatever. And so I learned from a guy who was running a program, who I met one day, and he had written out on a board a sentence. And I said to him, I can't read that. And he said, why not? And I said, because it doesn't make any sense to me. So he said, well, write down what you see. Under each, whatever you see, write exactly what you see underneath. And so he brought me 2 letters by coordinating what I saw to something called an A or a B or a C or a D. And that was pretty cool. What you can never change is the effect that the words dumb and stupid have on young people. So we must always be vigilant when those 2 words get stuck in our throat. Hey, dummy, God, you're so stupid. Just remember that what those leave you with are forever, be it in 1810 or 4010, the effect that they have is the same.
Okay, so now the piece is to discuss a little bit about ADHD. And again, it's because I don't have my panelists here with me. This is a really good description and what it's really like to have ADHD. And there's like a span of ages, and really, really heartfelt. And I think, I'm sure that there are probably people on this meeting that can relate, and know people who can relate.
I asked people with ADHD one question. What do you want the world to know about your ADHD?
This is what I want you to know about my ADHD. It takes me a lot of hard work to get my work turned in on time. I'm very smart, but my grades drop sometimes.
If I could actually sit down and start my homework, I would. But many days I just can't, and struggling with something so seemingly simple tends to make me feel very frustrated or even stupid.
I'd like the world to know that there are people like me out there who get good grades, rarely get in trouble, and yet can and do have ADHD and struggle with the symptoms that come along with it.
Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it isn't there.
My ADHD affects every aspect of my life, from sleep to school to work, all of my relationships, and I have to tailor my entire life around having it.
It doesn't always look the same. I was only diagnosed at 25 because I have the inattentive type.
I'm basically hyperactive. I was diagnosed at the age of 7.
I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 38, so I always thought you need to be hyperactive to have it.
I've filmed this video too many times now, and I can't get it right, and it's really stressing me out now.
I try really hard, and it hurts when people act like I'm not trying as hard as I am.
But the worst part is when my symptoms aren't taken as symptoms, they're taken as behaviors, done intentionally to upset someone or consider that I don't care, and that's never been the case.
Whenever you think that I intentionally tried to hurt you, I didn't. I probably just screwed up.
I'm at least as frustrated as you, and probably even more.
When I say I forgot, I'm not lazy. I'm not just trying to make an excuse. It's a real struggle. And I'm probably even more pissed off at myself than you are at me.
There is a giant flipping war going on inside this head. I really am trying.
When I use my accommodations, it's not me trying to take the easy way out. All I'm trying to do is level the playing field so that you and I have a lot more even chance of success.
When you see me arranging my pens and pencils according to color, it's because my brain is trying to compensate for the chaos within.
I squeeze some Play-Doh in my hand and help me concentrate on what I'm doing.
I moved to a special spot in the classroom for tests because I can't block out noises and distractions like you can.
While I'm staring off into space, it doesn't mean I'm stupid.
It doesn't mean that I'm not listening to you.
Normally it means that you've triggered a really interesting thought which my impulsive brain can't help but chase.
Having ADHD is like having a billion trampolines in your head, each representing a thought, and your brain just jumping off each and every one every second.
I don't think about ADHD as a disorder. I take it as more of a different way of thinking.
I know my brain works differently, but ADHD can give me an advantage with what I'm doing.
It may take me a while to come to a solution. It tends to be really different than everybody else's, and a lot of people appreciate that.
I've been told my whole life I need to be fighting my brain. I'm learning now that I need to love and work with my brain.
It's not an excuse, it's an explanation, and it's something that I'm going to continue working on for the rest of my life, and that's okay.
I'm smart, but ADHD makes focusing hard and hides my capabilities. If I'm given the chance, I can achieve more.
To meet this amazing community and learn more about how to support them, please visit howtoadhd.com/howtohelp. Please share.
Also, sticky notes. Yay!
Sticky notes are awesome. So, again, all of these videos, it's showing the struggles, and, a lot of the focus now, I'm all about lifting people up and showing strengths, and that's wonderful. There is a definite place for that, but at the same time, we need to be mindful of where that came from, what the source of it is, and the source of it are all the struggles. And if people don't understand what the struggles are, then you can talk all you want about your strengths, but I think to really come to an understanding, you have to have that discussion of really what the needs are, what's happening, and what the needs are. So I wanted to have my panelists discuss a situation when they were misunderstood because of their disability, and if they can speak to the person now, what would they say? And so I kind of kicked it off with my friends when I was talking to them. So I have two situations. Well, I have many situations where I've been misunderstood because of my disability, but two of them that I'm thinking of because I'm just kind of like focused on school. You have some amazing teachers that can make a difference, amazing professors, and some that can really destroy you. And people who are in power have to be very careful of how they use their power. And so in high school, I had a classic one. These were both literature classes, interestingly enough. One was a world literature class in high school, and I didn't speak in class. There was too much information coming in. I mean, there were all kinds of reasons that I'm not going to get into on this meeting, but I really had difficulty with expressive language, written and spoken. And, but I loved the teacher. She was so fantastic. The material was fascinating, but she was never looking in my direction. And I noticed that she would connect with the students who were interacting. And so I was like, okay,
in my head, I was thinking about this for days, like, how am I going to do this? And I'm like, facial expressions. I'm going to use facial expressions to let her know that I find this material fascinating. Well, I did it. I was excited. I came in with an intention. And at the end of the class, she asked to speak to me. And I came over to her and she looked at me and she said, Ilana, your facial expressions. And I thought I was going to die. For me, I put everything into this thinking that I was connecting, that she was going to understand this. And it was just such a bad attempt. Later on, about a few years ago, I actually found her on Facebook and I reached out to her. And I told her what an amazing teacher I thought she was. And I told her about something that I was holding on for all of these years. And she said to me, I am so very sorry. She said, I was so close in age to you guys, and I just wanted to have everybody fit in. She said, I really did not realize it, and I'm so sorry that I hurt you. And that was awesome. Second one was in college, kind of similar. It was an Irish literature class, and I didn't speak in class. The professor would call on me. We had small classes, and so they were more like seminars. I was able to decode, so I read fluently, didn't understand what I was reading, so I couldn't answer her questions. And then we had to write a paper, and I got an A on the paper, and it was a really superb paper, according to her, except she reported me to the director of our school and saying that somebody wrote it for me, and she couldn't possibly understand how somebody like me would be able to write such a brilliant paper. And at the time, because I was receiving services, even though I didn't have a diagnosis at the point, I was getting services from PALS because they recognized it's something that I was really, really struggling. And so it was recommended to me to set up an appointment with the professor, and I spoke with her and I told her that I take really great pride in my work, and I am an individual with a learning disability. And I explained to her what I had, what I was learning about myself, even though I wasn't diagnosed. I explained my struggles. And then, she just kind of said, oh, well, it was a brilliant paper. Didn't say sorry or anything like that, but it was enough for me. I know in her way, we were good, and I got my point across. So next I have Sheila, who talks about a situation that she had.
Video number 3 is discuss a misunderstanding. Discuss a misunderstanding with a person due to your disability, and go back to that person. What would I say to that person now? So probably the one that comes to mind immediately about a misunderstanding about my disability was when I was in sophomore year in college. And again, back then in 1995, 96, maybe 97, the technology wasn't there. You just didn't push a button and have it read it to you. So the documents were typically never read to you. And if they were very cumbersome, and all the technology to adaptive technology such as that really wasn't user-friendly at all. And it wasn't practical for the average individual to own it. So when I was writing out my resume, I mistakenly spelled, I was writing at college, and I wrote the word collage. So they're very similar. Don't ask me how to spell it, or the difference between the two in spelling. But I didn't recognize it. So when I did my proofreading, and I think I might have had someone look it over, but they looked it over quickly too, and they didn't recognize it. So when I made these resumes and I sent them out for jobs, I got a call back to be a filing person at I don't remember what type of medical office it was. It was just, I might have been a dentist or something, that it was a medical office. And I got called back to do a position for filing. I went into the doctor's office, and I sat and began the interview. And through the interview, he kept on saying, well, I often put these ads at the colleges because I I think that we're going to get a higher standard of people from the colleges. Most people with a college education, and so on. College, he kept on saying the word college over again. I said, well, I don't understand why this individual keeps on accenting the word college. I'm like, yeah. And it was a very interesting, and it was very, not that long of an interview, very quick. And, I thought it was really funny. And I knew I didn't get the job when I left, but I just couldn't it just didn't seem right. And again, maybe it goes down to my superpower, but it just didn't seem right. So when I got home, I asked one of my roommates, I said, does this say college or collage? And she said, it says collage. So this doctor had enough time to call me in his office. Now, granted, he did say, well, my office assistant looks over the resumes and forwards them to me. And this is the first time I'm looking at your resume. He did say that, but still, this doctor had enough time to take me into his office, have a pointless interview because he wasn't going to hire me because I wrote the wrong word, college versus collage, and then proceeded to accent the word collage, college, to almost like in a mocking way. And, and I noticed, I noticed something was going on there. So, I found out afterwards what he was, and I wasn't quite sure. So I had someone else look it over, and it was true. And my instinct was right. And I just thought it was so unbelievable. I'm like, you have this much time to be so condescending. So what would I say differently? And I think I know more now. I'd probably say the same. Wow, to being such a busy doctor, you have a lot of time to insult people. Throw it back at him. Seriously. That's all I'd say. I'm dyslexic and I'm the best employee you could have, but unfortunately, you're not going to have me. And yeah, I go to college and I also make collages. I don't know what else to say, so, but I should have, that's what I should have said. I said, if I knew that it really did say collage. So that's it.
Okay, so now we get into the portion of what types of services do you wish you had? Where are the gaps in services, and what types of services have worked well for you? So I was able to get Julie and Sheila to respond to this question.
So there are two areas in my life that I am still suffering with difficulties in my adulthood. So the first one is the technology piece. I feel like a dinosaur. Texting and email is my extent of knowing how to use computers. I recently was called upon me to use the computer to do a program, and I had no idea how to use that program. So with my school, I am going to sign up for as many professional developments in technology as I can for next year. And I'm very excited to reach my goal. And the second thing is the financial piece, is that even though my family was very open about finances, I have no idea about a budget. I have no idea about a savings. I know that I can have an accountant. I know that I have a financial advisor. And I know I have investments. But I don't know anything about the stock market. And I really could use some resources out there. So that is something that I am going to be working on and trying to find in my community in a way that will be helpful to me, that will break it down and make it easy for me to understand and help me better.
Yeah, so there's a very good point that Julie makes in terms of the services, but what she mentioned after is about breaking it down and making it so that she understands it. So here is somebody who is accomplished. She has her master's degree, she's been teaching for years, and still has these deficits, and needs to be somewhere where somebody understands where she is intellectually, right? They can meet her on that level as an equal, but also at the same time, keep her self-esteem intact while they're trying to break it down so that she can understand it in, more comprehensible pieces. And so that's something that I can relate to as well. I am somebody who has, finance is not is not my area of strength. It's very difficult to find resources in the community to assist with that. So I am somebody who, as a nonprofit worker, I'm accustomed to helping everybody else. And then I had a colleague of mine a number of years ago who said to me, hey, Ilana, I had reached out to the Urban League of Palm Beach County and they were fantastic. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'm so happy for you. And she was like, happy for me. Why don't you reach out to them? And you know what? I did. And I have to tell you, it was probably one of the best experiences I ever had. And I really didn't know what to expect. So, they have all kinds of programs, but I kind of headed in the direction of like home ownership. And then, they print out your credit report and all that stuff. And this woman was so phenomenal. And she sat there and she listened and she was compassionate. And I felt like a whole person. Like, I was like, okay, I could do this. Well, she helped me just by supporting me. She gave me some instructions of how to follow through with certain things that I was struggling with. And which, but her just believing in me that I can do this meant the world to me. And she did give me concrete things that I did. And I was able to, I'm not going to tell you what my credit score was, but in the past, like 5 years or so, I was able to raise my credit score over 200 points. And it was a sequence of events. There were things that I was not taking care of because I didn't know how to take care of it. And so just having places where we can go, where we feel safe and respected and valued is really important. So, and now is Sheila's good. And I actually agree with Sheila on this too. She brought up a point and something that I talk about as well.
Okay, video number 2. You wanted to know about services that has worked for me and services that I would like that I haven't found. I think it's easiest to start with something I haven't found, and that would be funding by health insurance for more diverse types of counseling. So not just the narrow like CSW, psychiatrists, so on and so forth, but maybe even something along as a life coach or something a little more specific and specialized. And then if you do take on, therapy with a talk therapy route, that you won't be limited by having another form of working with another person, because many times health insurances will only pay for a certain amount of services, only one provider. It's extremely limiting. So to broaden the options and types of therapy that are out there, and it's not directly related to dyslexia, but it is related to just quality of life issues and so on and so forth. The second part of the question was services that has worked. And this is something kind of new because of the pandemic. Due to the pandemic, every piece of document paperwork, everything coming in from the school now is digital. And prior to that, nothing hardly ever came in digital. So now everything can be read to me off my iPad, off my phone. I just swipe it down and it just reads, and I know exactly what's going on. When I got all those other first, second, third, fourth, fifth, kindergarten, every single solitary thing came in paper. And due to the reason I had to read it over, take some time, make sure I understood it, make sure I understood the dates, and so it's important that I had a lot more freedom once everything came in digital. I was much more confident in that I knew what this document was. I knew what time the appointment was. I knew what time, like what was going on at the school. So having that, and that's only a byproduct of the fact of the pandemic. I don't think it would have changed unless the pandemic happened. And we had those tools there all along. and my kids' school system didn't really utilize them as much as they do now. And they just graduated their freshman year, so they're going in their sophomore year. So I mean, it took a long time. Okay, that's the end.
So, you know, I'm thrilled for her that she's able to have everything digitally. I mean, it really is a game changer to be able to have that. And when she discusses the life coaching, something that Sheila and I can really relate on, not so much Julie. Sheila and I have major executive functioning issues. Julie is super, super organized. She was always the person, you know, who made lists. She just kept track of everything, great time management, all of that. And so, you know, what Sheila was talking about in terms of quality of life, you know, it really does come down to that. When you have deficits in that area, it impacts everything. And so, you know, we work sometimes 10 times harder than the average person, you know, just to be able to maintain, you know. And with Sheila's situation, something that she had discussed, you know, had she not had those struggles, you know, she may probably have been able to continue on with her career at some point with her sons. Her sons are 15, 16, they're twins. You know, she would have been able to go on with her career, you know, at some point, because they're certainly old enough now. And so, you know, we find as we get older, just like anybody else, but even more so, you know, we're starting to kind of, you know, life is wearing us down in a very interesting way. So, all right, so next, another great, so Carrie, I'm sorry, I'm just want to backtrack. If there's anything in terms of like time, or if anybody has any questions, or am I putting people to sleep? Like, just be honest, you know, let's keep it real here. You know, I want people to enjoy. So maybe we can open it to questions when we're done, or, okay. All right, I just need to know, because there's nobody talking, I'm not interacting with anybody. It's throwing me off a little bit. Okay, so this is a video about Richard Branson, and he's talking about the difference between net and gross. And I absolutely love the example that he gives, because I'm learning this for the first time. Now it totally makes sense to me. The way I was able to learn net and gross, how I taught it to myself a few years ago, I would say to myself, I always thought that gross should be the amount that you earn after taxes, because the amount is so gross because you lose so much money. So I say to myself, okay, it's the opposite of that. So that's before taxes. And I always go through the same scenario in my head. That's the only way I can remember it. And then this came up, and this like is a game changer for me. So.
You know, most likely Virgin, who now employs 90,000 people, would not have been successful if I hadn't been dyslexic.
Explain how you learned the difference between net and gross.
So I'm dyslexic, and I was hopeless at school, which is one of the reasons I left school at 15. But I could never comprehend things like, you know, net or gross. And I would just ask people, is that good news or bad news? And it wasn't until I was 50 that I was in a board meeting, and one of the directors said, pop outside a minute. Richard, you just said, is that good news? Did you not realize whether that was your profit or your turnover? And I said, all right, I admit it. So he said, well, look, here's a sheet of paper. And he penciled in the sheet of paper blue. And then he put a fishing net in the blue sea. And then he put some fish in the net, and he said, right, your profit at the end of the year, that's your net profit. The rest is your turnover. The sea as a whole, the fish are not in your net. And I went, hey, presto, I know the difference between net and gross. And
how old were you then?
50. We had the biggest private group of companies in Europe, and I did not know the difference between net and gross. And so ever since then, I've been, you know, net this, gross that. I've been name dropping the two words, but nobody seems to be that impressed, because they all knew the answer anyway. And the other sad thing was, of course, I thought I thought that net was, gross was the profit, and I realized I was making much less money than I thought I was.
Yeah, right. How does your dyslexia affect you today?
I think being dyslexic, by and large, helps people. And I know that when kids who are maybe watching this program and they're struggling at school will not necessarily agree with me. But I mean, the great thing about being a dyslexic is you concentrate on the things that you're good at, and you often excel at those things, and particularly as you get on later on in life. As a dyslexic, I had to become a good delegator very early on, so I had to surround myself with great people. Because I wasn't good at maths or something, I had to find people who were good at it. Most likely Virgin, who now employs 90,000 people, would not have been successful if I hadn't been dyslexic.
What about when you went skydiving?
Skydiving, different dyslexia comes out in different ways in different people, but I went skydiving for the first time, and the guys thought, I remember him saying to me, Richard, you don't need to go down with an instructor. You're a bit macho, and you can do it yourself. And little did he know that I was dyslexic. So I'm coming down on my own with two instructors either side of me, and the instructor on my right is going, as I'm doing this sort of maneuver, and the instructor on my left is shaking his head, and I decided to like the instructor on my right, and he was doing this, so I pulled the cord, and it turned out that I pulled the cord that actually got rid of the parachute, not the one that opened the parachute, and that's not a great idea. And that was my dyslexia, or whatever, coming out in rather a bad way at rather an unfortunate time.
What about when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, nobody had heard of the word dyslexia. It's a very strange word anyway to call dyslexics, because it's a really difficult word to understand. The people just thought I was thick or stupid at school. I got beaten regularly. It was a sort of English boarding school thing that they used to do. It was brutal. I mean, they would take. I was sent away to boarding school at 7.5. You were called into the headmaster's study in your pajamas. You had to take the pajama bottoms down, and you were often beaten till you bled. It was a very archaic system, which fortunately I think has been banned finally in Britain a few years ago.
Thank goodness that was banned. Yeah, I think back to when I was in grade school, and I'm sure some of you will relate to this. Does people remember being put in the corner? Like, what in the world is that? Like, how does that resolve, any issues? It is amazing how far we've come. And, I'm hoping that nobody does anything like that anymore, well, at least in our country. I can't say that for sure, elsewhere. Anyway, so next, I wanted to just kind of briefly go over like comorbidities, things that I'm noticing with my friends. I certainly notice it with my clients, and my friends and I are very, we're very real. We're very open about who we are and what our struggles are. And it's not because we want to complain. It is just that we, it's important to be understood, and it's cathartic. Julie was actually the first person that I never knew what a learning disability was until I got to college. And when I met Julie, that was how she introduced herself almost. It was, "Hi, I'm Julie. I have a learning disability." And I was like, what in the world is that? And, sure enough, I was definitely, there was a reason why I gravitated towards her. We had a lot more in common than we realized. So she was willing to be open and honest about anxiety that she struggles with. And I think it's a really awesome video clip.
I've suffered with anxiety my entire life. It has stopped me from traveling, being in social situations, getting on elevators, and always wanting to go home early from the party. Now I'm on medication and I feel 100% better. It changed my life. So sometimes we have to go on medication. And I'm grateful for my doctor, who after many discussions and conversations came to the realization that it was time to do that. And I am so thankful and wish that I had gone on this medication many years ago. I feel like I have suffered and I have sacrificed a lot in my life. And I often speak to my brother about this, about why I wasn't on medication at a much younger age. Also, why I didn't go to a special school for children who had learning disabilities at a much younger age. And the medications back then were very different than they are now. So I am blessed and beyond thankful that I have a wonderful doctor that listens, cares, takes initiative, and has helped me change my life.
So she's pretty brave. Next is disclosure, and actually this I'm not going to go too much into this because this is a whole other topic, because you have disclosure in so many different realms, and so I'm actually just kind of leave it be. What I probably will say is, like I said before, the reason why it was so difficult to find a panel is because people don't want to disclose. I'm sure that there are so many people in this community who can relate to me and to my friends. But being part of society, we are taught to kind of put on that mask, whatever people say, like, put on your big girl pants, man up, all these phrases, just so you can make it into conventional functioning. And so sometimes people don't feel that there's reason to. Nobody would listen to them, or how to explain it. They may not realize that there's something different. Maybe they do feel that they are stupid, and I certainly am somebody who understands that. So anyway, so that's for another meeting. Okay, so earlier I had mentioned that really, I'm so glad that Carrie was able to give me this forum. I was really, really excited about this meeting, because really my goal is to create an advocacy group for people like me. When I struggle, it's difficult because I really have the people who I can reach out to are my colleagues, but not necessarily agencies, because I don't feel like sometimes there are proper, I just don't know how I will be received, or if people will understand me, because often the reaction will be like,
can you help? Go ahead.
Thank you, Carrie. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, totally distracted. Tell me where I was. So this is me being real. This is what happened.
You found a trampoline.
Yes. Oh, totally found a trampoline. Oh gosh. Bring me back. Bring me back. Where was I?
So the group that you're putting together, and you need an outlet, and
yes,
it may not be the folks that you are working with.
Yes. So I need an outlet. And when I was speaking with my friends, they were so excited to be making these videos. They were like, please let everybody know, we're so sorry we couldn't be there. We wanted to be a part of this. They are so gung-ho. I have another friend who is a mental health counselor who's very accomplished, and she does disaster relief for the military, and she's on post right now, but she is really eager to be a part of this. She's a very big advocate for people in all different areas of life. So criteria, so basically, so do you do you think you know a person who might be interested in joining or creating an advocacy group for people with hidden disabilities like what we discussed here? Because, and it's not, I don't want to be insensitive to all the other types of hidden disabilities that exist, and I'm very well aware of it. And actually, my friends do have other comorbid disabilities of autoimmune diseases and things like that, but we're not focusing on it. They're not speaking about it because we're trying to kind of, sorry, my foot fell asleep. We're trying to kind of bring light to these specific disabilities. I didn't discuss ASD on here because I didn't have somebody representing, even though I can definitely relate very, very well to people on the spectrum. I would rather have somebody speaking, somebody who is diagnosed and can speak on, their behalf. You meet one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, so they can speak on their behalf. So have any of the diagnoses of SLD, ASD, ADHD, or any of the combination have to be employed or self-employed, and it's nothing personal to somebody who is not, but that's what we're going to be there for, to help support and guide people so that they can become part of the employed or self-employed pool between the ages of 30 and 65, so, kind of 30, again, nothing personal to people in their 20s, but your brain is still developing. I don't know. It just, I want people who, who have really kind of been in the workforce for some time, and then, 65. I mean, obviously, there are always going to be exceptions to the rule. So, for me, there's never anything hard and fast rule. Like but it has to kind of make sense there. I guess conventional society, we have to have parameters. Interested in personal growth and success, and interested in educating and assisting others with self-advocacy. So I'm just kind of, so I just wanted to throw it out there. I put my contact information, and it's Ilana Solomon, Ilana's Voice for All at gmail.com. And, I'm more than happy to communicate with anybody if you have any questions. I never want anybody to feel excluded. That's certainly not, what I'm looking to do. So I'm in the process of trying to navigate how to do this. I explained I have executive functioning issues. So, this is something that, with, there's so many, my peers and other people who might be interested, we can all kind of balance each other out. That's what I'm hoping for. And be able to piece this together where we keep everybody's self-esteem intact, and let everybody know that we're kind of here to serve, everybody beyond the group itself. So.
Ilana, I think Juana has her hand up for a question.
Okay, I'm going to stop the share because I can't see anybody.
Yep.
Which actually worked to my benefit during this, but.
There you are.
Okay, and let me
see us now?
Yeah, let me just change my view.
Okay.
So that I could see everybody. Oh. All right, gallery. Ah, there's everybody. Hi, Juana.
Hi, Lana. Thank you so much for your courage and for the love, and to actually speaking on these hidden disabilities.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to work with you. I am diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And currently I have my own business, and I'm a life coach, certified life coach.
Wonderful.
I put my info in the chat.
Oh, thank you so much, Juana. Thank you for sharing your situation.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is the part where, okay, what do we do now? So we had questions, or was there anything in the chat? I certainly wasn't. I don't know what, I wasn't following that. Carrie, can you help, please?
Yes, they were all positive statements. So this is awesome. I'm enjoying the content so far. I'm enjoying the content. This is amazing. Great info filled with hope and love. This is awesome. So I think everything is.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm so happy. I am so happy. That is awesome. That is awesome.
And
Do you have
many of
any
you work.
specific, pardon me?
Yes, I wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Jen, go ahead.
I'm a parent training coordinator and I have a son, he's 19-year-old. And we at home, we always acknowledge he had autism, but you know, the world is so cruel. He went to special school. Um, he was bullied relentlessly, and so now he doesn't want to associate with having special needs. He doesn't want to associate with having autism. And he has trouble navigating that because it's like he, like even when he was in the one that was being bullied, he saw how others treated the other kids that had like disabilities that may be more visible or were more that affected the individual more. So now that he's 19, he's sort of he doesn't know how to cope with himself because he's constantly trying to not be or not appear as. And that's led to difficult situations. Long story short, how would you suggest that I encourage my son? Because at this point, we love him, we care about him, but we cannot make him understand that it's okay for him to be who he is and just let's find the solutions. He knows about coping skills, he knows about strategies, programs, he knows about all that. But he physically he looks typical, but he has that invisible disability. And that's what's been difficult for us. So I even told him if he wanted to come and listen to what's going on, and he was like, it doesn't help. He was very frustrated. So if you guys have any tips, I would appreciate it as a mom. Thanks.
So that is, I love hearing from parents who are supportive of their children. That to me is just, or parents or guardians, anybody who loves a family member or somebody with a disability and wants to support them. So, first and foremost, I think I see that often in the population that I'm working with my clients in terms of self-acceptance. I think a big part of that is finding a small, either like one other person or a very small social group of, who are equals to some point. They have to have something in common, and then have them start that way. I always find that structured groups are really informational groups are what help most. I know that that's something that I have found to be very helpful in my own personal life, where I can sit back, I can, if I want to look, I can look, if I want to turn away, I can turn away, but at least I'm getting that information. I can pick and choose, take what I want, throw out the rest. That's what I say to the guys that I work with when I'm speaking to you: take what you want, throw out the rest. Whatever works for you, it's all good. So, finding that, I think that's the big part of acceptance. I mean, that really, I don't know what else to say about that. It's really just finding somebody who they connect with, who can mentor them, and it can be a peer. Sometimes it's more effective when it's a peer. But again, I don't know where those resources are necessarily. I mean, we have wonderful organizations in the community. Maybe Carrie's probably the best person that I know to speak to that, because she's involved in so many different things of, where to go. I know that, like with my clients, I hold, it's employment based, but I hold crew meetings for them so that they can connect and they can talk about life, that while they're in the, they're in the world with everybody else and, kind of conforming to some extent, so they can talk about all those things that everybody experiences, but then they feel safe enough to kind of talk about, all the things that that are things that are related to their disability. And I've watched people change and grow due to listening to their peers have these discussions, because suddenly they feel empowered, like, oh, even something simple like, there's somebody else who's, 28 years old who watches, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Even something like that. And then they all share, employment and, integrated, successful community employment, paid employment like everybody else, but they're allowed to be themselves. So I think it's going to be a matter of, finding that right fit, that right group. I don't know, Carrie, what do you think?
I was thinking about a conversation that you and I had, Alana, about the diagnosis and when you receive a diagnosis and what it means to each individual. And we were talking about how some individuals carry it through at a very early age, and so they've never experienced life without it, and it's kind of like this luggage that they want to shed, maybe because of all the negative experiences. And some individuals may receive it almost as a lifeline later in life to explain all the troubles. And so those individuals may see it as they are proud to be part of that community because it finally makes sense that it's an answer for all the struggles that they've had. And it's just such a shame that a diagnosis can have two completely different impacts on people, to where some folks want to be drawn towards others like them because it explains what they're going through, and some folks want to have nothing to do with other folks that have a similar disability because they are just tired of being grouped with other individuals with autism, other individuals with learning disabilities, and they want to be a part of the larger community. So it's just interesting that that has such an effect on people.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. That was our conversation. And, for me, getting a diagnosis, even though it doesn't exist anymore in the DSM, but for me, it was like, this is great. Finally, I'm not stupid. I am an intelligent human being who is capable of doing all these things. And there's actually an explanation. And now, like, I can wear it proudly and I can say, hey, you know what? There's a reason for this. And now, and that's what led to me wanting to educate myself, on disabilities, and then I put myself into it 1,000%. And this is just a huge passion of mine. So, yeah, so it is tough, but when I'm working with clients, we have the two there. You have me who is like super proud of my diagnosis, and clients who I'm working with who are like, sometimes they're like, oh, just don't, like, can you please, like, move away? I don't want anybody to know I have, like, somebody working with me here. And but I've been able to break barriers with that too, because I'm able to say to them, hey, you know what? I totally understand. I understand, what you are discussing and how you are probably feeling. And then I give them my perspective and share, what? I'm an individual with a disability. And you know what? So we may not struggle with the same things, but I do know what it's like to be different. And, here's what it's like, this is what it was like for me growing up. And now all I want to do is educate people and empower people. And so what I'm saying to the younger generation is, you know what? Whatever, I'm sorry. I know it's a term and you don't want to be referred to that, but oh my gosh, do you know what you can do in this community? Do you know what a difference you can make by being your cool self, and with all of your, eccentricities and quirks and things like that, and your brilliance and your unique ways of looking at the world. And, you have something to offer and you can educate other people and make a difference. So, so I do understand it, but like, again, like I said, getting people to accept who they are, I think through like some type of mentorship relationship, or some type of small group that would be appropriate with some type of shared interest where they can start to, experience who they are and see who other people are, is very important. So.
And I think back in the day, we used to have those very clinical social skills groups that were education feeling. And now, you know, there's all sorts of social groups where it's, you know, robotics or interest related, and small groups, large groups, older folks, younger folks. So there's many more avenues for individuals to find, and Mary Ellen could maybe attest to this, could find different types of groups. I know that CARD offers groups, but you know, you all aren't the only ones, and you could go to a group on a Tuesday night and have a completely different experience than a group, you know, down on a different campus, etc. So just trying to feel out what works. And I know some folks have had negative experiences of going to groups, and they just associate that experience with any kind of social group, but that's not necessarily the case. So just to keep trying, as we all do in life, and find your niche.
Well said.
If I can comment real quick. So Jeanette, thank you so much for opening up. As a parent, my son is diagnosed with ASD and ADHD. So I just wanted to say, from parent to parent, you're a warrior. Don't give up hope, and just give me a call and we will work it up. Okay, don't give up hope, and you're an amazing warrior. Okay, I send you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I love it. That's very like when I like to have group meetings, I always, you know, for me, it's really important for people to be real, and for people to be open about, you know, showing support and, you know, love, however they're able to express it. That's really important. And so thank you so much for, you know, I love seeing that connection from parent to parent. It's really so important. So anybody else?
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you next month.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm missing things in the chat. So
yep, he just said, thank you. I enjoyed the talk today, Ryan.
Oh, thank you, Ryan.
And I think that's it for questions. So you all have, Ilana, you said that you put your information in the chat.
Oh, I didn't put it in the chat. I put it in the last slide.
Gotcha. Okay. It was in the last slide. And of course, you all can email me if you'd like to connect with Ilana. I have her email as well. And we appreciate your time, Ilana. We know how much work goes into a presentation, and we appreciate your just your heart and soul. And thank you for making this world a better place.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you for this forum. I'm really, it just gives me hope when I'm part of discussions like this. We have a really beautiful community, and so thank you everybody who's here. You know, and while I don't know you individually, I imagine that you do amazing things in the community. So I hope to learn more about everybody here, and you know, let me know if there's anything, you know, that I can do if you want to be involved somehow.
Once you get the group going, come on back and let us know how it goes.
Absolutely, I would love to. I would love to. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, have a great afternoon. It was nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.